is Brad with College SportsCast. I got a special guest with me tonight. I got Terry Brown, and we are here to do our game day pick'ems.
All right.
All right, guys, it's Brad with College SportsCast. I've got Terry with me. TB, I think, is what everybody usually calls him. What's up, TB?
Oh, nothing much. Good to be here. Thanks for reaching out to me. It's Friday Night Live. I jumped the gun early. Love the intros, man. That's exciting.
Cool, man. All right, so I've got John Roberts here with me, but it looks like he doesn't have a video. And
are y'all able to hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. I can't see you.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't get video, so I have no idea. We're probably just going to go without video today then, because I can't get it to work.
Okay, man. All right, so I tried to pull you up a few minutes ago, and it kicked you off and said that you didn't have audio or video, and it kicked you off and wouldn't let me pull you back up until just now. So, anyway, so John Roberts is down at the bottom. John Roberts is down at the bottom. He's the one with no camera tonight, looks like. Sometimes we have some technical difficulties, TV.
Hey, we do on our show, Cats Talk Wednesday, man. Sometimes you got to roll with it, baby. Like, what was that game, that Kentucky game, where we had the view that was like way, way up high? You know, they couldn't zoom in, whatever game that was.
I remember that.
You got to
go with it. That was a football game during the storm.
Yeah.
That was the football game during the storm, the first game. Yeah.
Yeah, so you got to go.
Yeah, and everybody was saying the view. Everybody was saying the view was from Versailles.
That's right. That's right. They were setting up at the castle there in Versailles. Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. All right, guys. So we are here to do our college game day pick'ems, College SportsCast game day pick'ems. But before we get started here, you can help support us by sending us stars if you are on Facebook. And you can also subscribe to our page now at College SportsCast. It's only 99 cents a month. It does help us earn money to continue to make you guys more content. So we would appreciate either one of those. Always try to get started with that before we get going. And then I'm going to scroll this. While we are kind of talking, this does have our sponsors. Talks about the Real Fresh channel and WSB and TV channel 30 on the bottom, and a couple of Home Field Apparel sponsor and True Victory. So that'll be playing along the bottom there as we go along. So, guys, I am going to start with this. There is only one top 25 matchup this week. One in college football. Is that not a little strange?
Isn't that the way it goes, though, where you have these like weekends where you can't flip around fast enough, but then you have weekends where it's like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen, but you're still going to get good games. That's the thing about it. You're still going to get some good games out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was kind of tough to pick some of these games. I feel like I left a few of them out. We always do 12 games here on College SportsCast Game Day Pick'ems. I always pick 12 games out. So if I left your team out, I'm sorry. There was 4 or 5 I kind of struggled with, but I got a list here, and we're going to actually start, John Roberts. I'll let you start here, but we're going to start with the only top 25 matchup this weekend, and that is Missouri at Texas A&M, and Texas A&M is a 2.5-point favorite on DraftKings. John,
look,
what do you think?
If Brad doesn't have your team in here, it's because he hates your team and he thinks you suck. So,
yes, this is totally true. No, it's not, because I got a couple of teams in here that I do not like. So, and Terry will probably know which two they are.
Oh, I know exactly where they are. One of them's in the next game.
I'm sure. Yeah, you're right. One of them is in the next game. All right. Everybody who knows me, they know which two games it is, I'm sure. All right, John. I think this is an interesting matchup. Missouri and Texas A&M at Kyle Field this weekend.
It is. It's an interesting matchup, but honestly, I really feel that that Missouri's offense, it's just going to be just too powerful for A&M, and I really honestly think that Missouri is going to win this one. A&M, I don't really know what to think about them because they're not. I don't think they got a full-on identity, even though, you got a defensive-minded head coach.
And they're playing good defense.
And they're playing good defense, but their offense isn't just outstanding. They've had to go to a backup quarterback as now their starter because clearly Wegman was not great. I don't even know if he got hurt again. I mean, he's so injury prone anyway. So, but I really just think that Mizzou is going to go into A&M and come out with a victory. So I'm going Mizzou.
Okay. All right. So we do use DraftKings for our spreads here. Terry, Missouri struggled with Vandy, barely come out with a win, a couple of weeks ago. I think they had a bye week this past week. So, but, what do you think on this game?
Well, Missouri's going to show me something. Look, for me, A&M, I've been trying to figure out what A&M has been doing for 12 years across the board, ever since they joined the SEC. They do things a little different down in College Station, right? They got cheerleaders, but they're not cheerleaders. Yeah. They got cadets, but they're not military. A lot going on down there in College Station. So I'm going to go with Missouri because I think that offense will travel.
Have you ever seen the midnight yell the night before?
Yes.
Very strange.
They do things different there with the bonfire. Although I don't think they do that anymore after it fell a few years ago, but they do things different down there in College Station. But I'm going to go with Missouri, the show me state, the show me a little something down there in College Station.
So for me, guys, Texas A&M is 4-1. They haven't looked pretty doing it, and like John said, they're going to the backup QB. So I'm not sure if they can muster enough offense against what I think should be a very good Missouri offensive team. And Missouri does have a pretty decent defense as well. So I'm going to follow suit with you guys, and I'm going to take the upset as far as the spread line here, although Missouri is the higher ranked team. So, in this ranked matchup. So I'm going to take Missouri in this one as well. All right, our next game we're going to get to is SMU is at Louisville this weekend. Louisville is a 6.5-point favorite. And John, I'll go with you first this week and let our guest picker here, Terry, go second. But what do you think with the Mustangs versus the Cardinals?
There's a lot of people that are upset with Hugh Freeze at Auburn, and they are starting to turn their eyes to Rhett Lashley because they're thinking, hey, that should have been the guy that we take instead of having Gus Malzahn.
Hey,
you should have coach. Gus Malzahn's protege, the guy that played high school football for Gus and has been following Gus ever since up until Auburn, and then went off to become a head coach himself. So,
right.
And his team has been, the offense has been pretty good. They've had a couple of times where it got snagged, but the offense is pretty good. I really like SMU to just win it outright anyway. Go into Louisville and win it outright against the Cardinals there.
Interesting. Terry, in this game, SMU started the season kind of slow, and they had a quarterback that come on last year and everybody thought was going to be great. And then he started slow. They replaced him, and now the offense seems to click. So Help me make sense of that, because I can't figure it out.
Well, as Kentucky fans, we know sometimes that backup quarterback comes in and just changes everything, right? It's a different cadence. It's a different energy in the huddle. So who knows what happens when you go to that backup quarterback? You catch some of that electricity in a bottle.
I know
like
what happens with
SMU
the
because they
backup
gave me
quarterback.
my favorite all-time quote. Next thing you know, the backup quarterback is winning the whole thing. But SMU gave me my favorite quote ever when it comes to NCAA infractions. When they got caught cheating the second time, we got a payroll to keep. So, hey, I'm all SMU in the Pony Express. You're never going to find me rooting for Louisville one iota. I think the Louisville fans have been. I have not seen anything that makes me feel like Louisville is where they think Louisville is. So I think SMU can go into LNN Stadium and walk out with a victory.
So, Terry, I'm going to take you to the Wayback Machine. I can remember the Pony Express days. I remember Eric Dickerson. He was one of my favorite running backs as a small kid. Was Eric Dickerson. And I remember those times when SMU was like really, really good. I mean, they had a backfield that was just spectacular. And Dickerson and Craig James, you're right. That's the two backfield guys that they had during the Pony Express. And I have always Dickerson is still to this day my favorite running back of all time. I mean, when you're like 8 and you see this guy just running all over the place, he was just special to me. And he done it in the pros too for a few years until he got hurt. I mean, SMU has struggled. They've come on the last 3 games. Of course, they routed FSU last week, 42-16, in Tallahassee. I'm going to be with you guys. I'm at least going to take the 6.5 points here and say they're at least going to cover this spread in Louisville. So I'm going to take the Mustangs as well in this game. And everybody knows me. This is probably one of the games that I was talking about a few minutes ago. Right, Terry? I figure you knew that already, right?
That was my guess. That was my guess. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. All right. So the next game we're going to talk about, this is maybe Ohio State's toughest game of the year so far. They've had a pretty weak schedule, if you ask me, leading up to this week. They played Michigan State last week, but they're coming on, got a good coach, but first year. So, John, Iowa is at Ohio State this week. Ohio State is an 18.5-point favorite at home. You think the Buckeyes can cover?
So, history in this game, you would think that, Iowa has always been known for their defense, and Ohio State's just been known to be, the big bully that's there, whether they are, they're really good with offense, but they've usually had a pretty stout defense depending on the years, especially with some of the famous or some of the defensive linemen that they've had come through Ohio State. But one would think that this game is going to be low scoring. And if you really look at the history, for the most part, it's anywhere from about 40 to 50 points total in this game. And it's usually in the neighborhood of about a 20-point victory for, anywhere from 10 to 20 for Ohio State, which kind of puts you right on the cusp of trying to get that line right there.
Right.
Ohio State's going to win this game. The question is do they cover this? And I'm going to go ahead and say they do. So
I kind of agree with you on that. But Terry, Ohio State's got some really good skill position players, running backs, receivers. Iowa's always known for defense. So, can they hold them inside these numbers and the Hawkeyes come out with it, maybe not the win, but the spread cover?
The question is, because I'm right here in the middle of Iowa, right? I am in Des Moines, Iowa, so I've come to appreciate what Iowa football is about. So it's going to be defense, and it's going to be a lot of running. The question is, can Caleb Johnson, who I think is like 1 or 2 in terms of rushing in FS this year, can he get going? It's one of those things. If he can get going, I'm not saying that Iowa can win, but they can make it a real fest, right? Because their offense, outside of running the ball, they're not going to get plays. So they play defense, they punt, they keep the field position. But what has tripped Iowa up is eventually with Ohio State by keeping it in the teens. So I think Ohio State wins, but I don't think they cover. I think Iowa ran out enough.
Okay. All right. So for me, in this game, I love what Iowa does. They're pretty much a perennial 10-2, 9-3 team just about every year. It seems like, they play good football, good sound football. They produce tight ends, linebackers. Yeah. They do a great job with their program. There is nothing wrong with what they do. However, this Ohio State team is talented beyond means. I mean, everybody's this week's been talking about Ryan Williams, but they have a freshman wide receiver that's doing pretty much the same thing that Ryan Williams is doing at Alabama.
But is he 17?
Jeremiah?
Is he 17?
He's a freshman. I know
the
that.
Real
John.
question: is he 17?
Okay, John. There's the Auburn fan coming out in you there. All right. So for me, I'm going to go Ohio State to cover this at home. If this was the other way around, I definitely would pick Iowa if this was in Iowa. But being at home, I think I'm going to take Ohio State to cover. All right, John, we're going to get to your game. And a year ago, Auburn almost knocked off and beat Georgia. Auburn goes to Georgia this time, and DraftKings has them as a 22-point favorite.
So,
what?
I'm kind of struggling because the line is like just long enough to be like, could Auburn actually get inside that number? But here's my problem with this game is that it's at Georgia and Auburn hasn't won in Georgia since 2005. Auburn can't really score a whole lot in Georgia over the last several years. So that I think there's, for the most part, for the last several years, I think 10 is what they max out at. There may have been one game where they got over 10 points. But it's been mainly like 24-7 type games. So what I'm just trying to really kind of get through this. But I honestly think that it's going to end up ultimately being that Georgia wins, but it's not quite the 22. I don't know. Their offense started clicking in the second half against Alabama. It was obviously kind of all over the place in the first half, when Alabama built that big lead. Their defense is still really good. They've got guys that are hurt, but I still think that, I guess what allows Georgia to cover is if Auburn starts throwing picks all over the place, which is, we've seen it happen multiple times. So, but I'm going to go with that. That Georgia wins. Auburn keeps it just inside the number.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So that's coming from an Auburn alum, an Auburn fan. So, Terry, what do you think here? I mean, Georgia last week, man, I mean, they looked pretty bad against Bama in the first half and then come back and look pretty great in the second half. And, I mean, so I don't know where to put them quite yet.
Well, it's one of those things. Because early in that Georgia-Alabama game, Georgia had to pass them sticks. Like, all right, we've seen enough, but they came back. But was it because Georgia elevated their game, or was it that Alabama took their foot off the gas? And I'm not trying to disparage anybody, but for every great comeback, there's also an equal kind of letdown, right? So what Georgia are you going to get?
At least a lull, yeah.
Right. So what Georgia are you going to get? Is Kirby Smart going to be able to get these guys focused and to come back and handle business? So it's one of those things. Do they win, or are they able to kind of put things together to reach that 22-point spread? I think that's a tough ask after an Alabama game. That's just me. So I think they do enough to get the win. 22 just seems big to me. So I think Georgia wins, but I don't think that they cover.
Interesting. Yeah. So for me, man, this has got to be a tough week. If you play for Georgia, I would think Kirby Smart has been pissed off all week long. Like, honestly. And these players, like, they've had to deal with that. And I just can't imagine them not coming out at home in this game with just quite a bit of extra fire, especially early in that first half. I'm not so sure that Auburn wants to really start this game the way, after Georgia looked the way they did last week. As much as I hate to say it, John, I'm going to take this 22 points. I think Georgia's going to play pissed off. That's what I think.
And, I mean, they can still be pissed off, but
on Auburn.
Yeah, they can still be pissed off. Here's what I was looking at. So Athens, in Athens, last year is kind of the anomaly. Is more the anomaly than the standard, and that was that Georgia won 42-10 in Athens. Not last year, but the last time they played in Athens. Before that, it was 27-6. Before that, 27-10, and then 28-7. Let's see. Then there was 13-7, 20-13. I mean, it's the games in Athens have been not necessarily blowouts, or they haven't gotten to where they've gotten up to the 22. It's usually been about 14 or so, 14-18. There is a 21-point victory. Yeah. There is a 32-point victory, but that's what's happened. Auburn's defense. Auburn's a top 25 offense and a top 50 defense. And the difference in the game, the difference in Auburn and everybody else that has that kind of statistical statistics is that Auburn throws picks left and right. They hand it out like, I mean, it's just it's stupid how bad that they are.
That's another reason why.
Margin.
That's another reason why, John. I think because Georgia did that last week against Alabama, and they don't never do that. I mean, Beck had 3 picks. Beck had a fumble. I mean, I think they are going to be focused and ready to come out and show that they're still Georgia. I just do. So that's why I'm going to take them and take the 22. The next game we're going to talk about now, Ole Miss is coming off the loss to Kentucky last week here. They are a 9-point favorite at South Carolina. I think this is kind of an interesting game this week as well, especially since this is in Columbia. John, what do you think on this game?
Did they announce whether Sellers was playing?
I have not heard, to be honest,
because he was.
I'm not sure. Terry,
in the probable
Sellers
or
is playing.
I have not heard. I've been out of the loop today a little bit. I have not heard a whole lot of anything.
Yeah, the only thing that would get me to sway for South Carolina is there's also Rocket Sanders that was supposed to be like a probable as well. Like I don't know if he's been slated as being able to play too. But Rocket Sanders and Sellers are in the game, then I am all in with South Carolina just making this game extremely hard for Ole Miss. And as much as Ole Miss has a really good offense and a pretty decent defense, I honestly think that if Rocket Sanders and Sellers are playing, then I'm going South Carolina.
Okay. I mean, just how healthy are they going to be is my main question, even if they are playing. Terry, what do you think here after, does Ole Miss get the bounce back?
And the thing is that's got to be most concerning about Ole Miss is they looked really bad on the offensive line. Like, you can run these plays and you can run hurry up, but if you can't block anybody, you kind of see what happens. And so,
and South Carolina's got a good defensive line,
right? As we know,
yes.
Right. So if South Carolina's defensive line can control the game, then you're going to have some frustrated Ole Miss folks, like we saw last week with Kentucky. Is if South Carolina can play that ball control, because I think what happens, those teams that play fast, if you keep them on the bench for a long time, there's that urge by the quarterback to try to make these plays, right? Because you're used to all this, you get them kind of playing out of step a little bit. So I'm just going to go with South Carolina. I just think that defensive line. I love Ole Miss as what they do offensively, but man, if you can't block anybody, and Dart, as good as he is, we saw him press when things kind of got down the line.
Yeah, Dart
YOLO throw notwithstanding. I mean, he made some throws that I'm like, oh, I don't know. So that's where I am on that one.
Yeah, Dart may be running for his life if the South Carolina line is getting any sort of penetration, especially that one defensive end that they've got.
Yeah, I mean, this is true. That's what happened with Kentucky. That's the reason why the Kentucky game turned out the way it did. So, and this being in Columbia, I mean, this game could go either way if you asked me. I mean, Ole Miss has a lot of weapons. I mean, Trey Harris, Juice Wells is coming back to Columbia, to play against them. They've got the Trey Harris guy. I mean, that is leading the league by far in reception yards, wide receiver yards per game. So to go with Jackson Dart, I mean, I expect this Ole Miss offense to look like they did before Kentucky, but at the same time, you guys are right. South Carolina's defensive line could bring some havoc for this Ole Miss team to have to operate on, under. And that is a little scary. But I'm going to take this Ole Miss team and take the 9 points. I think with their expectations for the season, I think this is a game that they need for a bounce back. And I think they're going to win by 10 to 14 points. So I think they cover this 9, and I don't think it's a blowout or anything, but I think it's between 10 and 14 probably. So I'm going to take the Rebels in this one.
You're calling
All
a
right,
backdoor
so this
cover.
game is an interesting. Yeah, I am. All right, so this game, man, it's in the Big Ten. This is a game that early in the season I would have never thought that I would put on here, but both of these teams just have one loss, and we've got Rutgers going to Lincoln, Nebraska, and I think both teams have kind of been a kind of a surprise so far this year. And Nebraska is a 6.5 point favorite at home, John. What do you think in this game?
Oh, this one, again, tough one. And yeah, at the beginning of the year, you would probably not be really looking at this one. But I mean, again, it's Greg Schiano going back to New Jersey and really doing what he did the first time he was at Rutgers. But
right.
The Nebraska's looked really well. I mean, you thought that they were going to be pretty good with Raiola at quarterback, and that he's proven to be a really good quarterback. I'll go with Nebraska covering right here. But Rutgers may make it tight for a long time. And it may just be a 7-point victory. I mean, that's all they need. So,
yeah. Right. That's all they need here is a touchdown win to cover the spread. So,
yeah.
Terry, like I said, both of these teams are one loss. Oh my gosh, look at here. Terry's bringing out the Rutgers shirt.
And
I guess that means you're going with Rutgers?
I forgot to bring this out a little bit earlier if we could go back. I was going to do the Lee Corso, Ohio State, Iowa thing. I forgot to do that earlier for that one, so I do apologize.
Yeah.
But the Rutgers shirt, just Google Louisville Rutgers 2006 game if you want to know why I have a Rutgers t-shirt. Talk about
that one was a great game.
Yeah. Google that one. That was
Louisville was walking into that game thinking that they're high and mighty and everything like that, and Rutgers absolutely came in there and won. I remember I was in school at that time. I was watching that game. Was that a Thursday night game?
There he is.
Did we lose him? Was that a Thursday night game?
It was a Thursday night game. This is what happened. So I was working in my hometown. I was working in my hometown of Louisville, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, Rutgers and Louisville are going to be playing Thursday." We ordered these shirts to get delivered like that Wednesday or Thursday, and so I wore my Rutgers shirt to my Louisville office with the tag still on that Friday for our casual day, because that's the kind of petty I am. So that's why I have a Rutgers shirt.
Okay. Well, I know that you collect all kinds of sports jerseys and T-shirts and things of that nature. I know you do. So
much to my wife's chagrin, yes, I do.
Yes, I know you do. I've watched your show, Cats Talk Wednesday. If you guys don't know it, but he collects a lot of sports. I guess you could call it artifacts. Jerseys and different things.
And
and caps and yeah. Right. Yeah. I know you do.
Yeah.
All right. So you're going Rutgers in this one?
I'm going Rutgers just because, like I said, I'm in Iowa now, and the Iowa-Nebraska corn rivalry is a thing. So I'm not picking Nebraska. I'm going with Rutgers. The Fighting Schiano is going to get it done.
Okay.
A lot of red and white in this game.
All right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, there is. Too much red and white for me in this game.
That's right.
But
it's fans of blue teams.
Being that this is in Lincoln, and I know I said this like 2 or 3 weeks ago when Illinois went in there. and Nebraska didn't get the job done. So gosh, I think I'm going to go Nebraska and take the 6.5. I don't know. Something about it being in Lincoln just makes me want to take Nebraska in this game, but I could,
which is a
be
great
wrong.
stadium, by the way. It's a beautiful stadium.
It is, and it used to be such a tough place to play, and I still kind of have that in my head. They used to win. You used to never go in there and beat them in Lincoln, Nebraska. I mean, so I think I still have that in my head a little bit, but we'll see. Rutgers has a really good team, and they've been playing well. So we'll see if they can come in there and get a victory. All right, before we move on, we're at the halfway point. Before we move on, I'm going to let Howie Fresh say a little bit of word about the Real Fresh channel. This will take just a few seconds here, but I always try to get this in the middle of the show.
You need new entertainment. You need full-length content. You need the Real Fresh channel. Hey, I'm Hal Fresh from the Real Fresh channel. Subscribe today on YouTube. We have new content. We are a network of podcasters putting out new stuff every single day. Whether you need sports, pro or college, whether you need comedies, whether you need pop culture, whether you need wrestling, we've got so much content on there. Gaming, check it out. Live, not live, we've got it all. The Real Fresh channel, subscribe today.
All right, guys, that was Howie Fresh from the Real Fresh channel. He is a partner with us here at College SportsCast. He has a NFL picks show on Tuesday nights on College SportsCast on Facebook. And then we are on his channel each and every show on YouTube. And check them out at the Real Fresh channel. All right, the next game we're going to get to, guys, is this game. I would have thought at the beginning of the year would have had a whole lot of meaning. But really, I'm not too excited about this game. And I really didn't even want to put this game on the list, to be quite honest with you. There were a few others that I struggled with, but I did leave them on the list. Clemson is going to Florida State. Clemson is a 15-point favorite in Tallahassee. What does that tell you, John?
Clemson, next game.
I really didn't even want to put this game on here, to be honest with you.
Klubnik is going to have one long run. They'll run. They'll have a mix of running. He'll throw. They'll be fine. And yeah.
Does FSU finally show up because DJ's not playing? Is that what happens here?
No. No.
I don't know.
DJ was their best option, and they were that bad.
Okay. Terry, what do you think?
Yeah, it's Clemson.
Can you believe FSU is that bad?
That's
yes.
what I was going to say. The thing
Honestly.
is, when we talk about, blue bloods and things like that, and you think that because you're good, you're going to stay there forever. FSU is an indication of it can drop off and drop off quick. Like if you're not doing that thing behind the scenes as far as recruiting and program building and all that kind of stuff, like this stuff can stop in a heartbeat because, when we were coming up, Florida State, I think they were like finishing the top 10, like 25 years in a row, like something ridiculous like that.
Is it not 40?
Yeah.
I thought it was 40.
For top 10, you may be like, it's something like that.
It's like top 5. I think it's top 5.
Yeah. Top 5 was something ridiculous because you got to go back to Dion and those guys. They're not walking into Doak Campbell Stadium anymore. Like this is bad because if you remember when they joined the ACC and they won like, I don't know, their 30 straight games or something ridiculous. And it was a big deal when Florida State finally lost an ACC game. Like it was oh my goodness, did you see that?
Right.
I think it was Virginia, if I'm not mistaken. Right. Warwick Dunn could not get to the end zone. Somebody fact check me on that, but I think I'm right. But anyway, we're a long way from that. We're a long way from Jameis Winston and all those guys. Like it's bad in Tallahassee. Like it is bad.
Yeah.
And you didn't put We got Florida on here, so we'll get to what it looks like in the Sunshine State just at a high level.
Yeah.
It ain't great. It is not great. So Clemson, all that to say, Clemson.
No, it's not. Yes. Listen, there's really not much you can say other than this game I would have thought would have had more implications than what this is going to. I think Clemson wins this game pretty handily. 15 points seems like a lot in Tallahassee, but I'm going to lay these points pretty confidently. I feel like this is going to be a runaway train, to be honest with you, in this game. All right, the next one we're going to get to, guys, is Tennessee at Arkansas. Tennessee is a 14-point favorite. John, does Tennessee cover this?
Yes, Tennessee covers. Next game. I mean, we're doing this one more. I'm going to do this one more time.
Okay. I mean, Arkansas has looked decent at times. I like the way Taylon Green has looked at times and played. I'm not going to lie. I think he has been pretty decent at times. But, Terry, do you think they have any chance in Fayetteville this weekend against this Tennessee team?
Man, I hate to say it, but I don't think so. Tennessee is just looking really, really good. And that offense is just humming, man.
Yeah.
It is just and this year it seems like the receivers, the route running, it's not just bombs away. Like the receivers are actually running the full route tree. I watched them against Oklahoma, and I'm like, oh, this is a new wrinkle, right? Like they are actually, it ain't just go down there and get the ball. It's that Tennessee offense is really, really tough.
Oh, it's the defense that's going to win this game. It's the defense. The defense is going to do it. The offense is just icing on the cake.
Well, they do have a good defense as well, which is a little different because the last few years, Tennessee's defense has not been great. 2 years ago, when they had a good team, that defense was horrendous, to be honest. And they have stepped it up. They do have a top defense here. They have one of the top defensive lines in the SEC, I think. Pierce and that bunch on the defensive line for them. And I agree with you, John. Like the offense is going to score their points, but I think it's going to be tough on this Arkansas team to even score 2 or 3 touchdowns against this Tennessee defense.
Yeah, try one.
Yeah. But I'm saying to cover 14 points, so I don't even really think they'll be in it. So I'm going to take Tennessee, and everybody knows that's not something I enjoy doing. There's not a soul that knows me that knows that that's not something I enjoy doing.
Team number 2.
I can tell you that. Hey, there you go, John. There you go. There's not a soul that knows me that doesn't say that they know that. All right. I think this is an interesting game this weekend. We got Michigan, who is ranked, maybe even top 10. Are they 10th this week? At Washington, who is not ranked. And Washington is favored at home. So, John, does Vegas have this right, or does the AP voters have this right?
So this is a rematch of the national championship game. Am I correct here? Yes.
It is. It is a rematch of the national championship game. Although I think both of these teams are quite a bit different.
Yes. So we could say that, if the national championship game were played 9 more times, Washington would win 9 more times.
Okay, Hugh Freeze.
Yeah. So, look, Michigan still has a team that can run the ball. They still have a team that plays some defense. Washington doesn't necessarily have the skill guys that they had before. Obviously, Michigan doesn't have, I don't know if have they gone to the student union to recruit a quarterback or what?
Well, they're playing Orgy now, which was the backup at the start.
Yeah, so the guy that they thought was going to be a backup is now the starter because somehow the guy that they thought was going to be the starter just hasn't done it. So,
yes,
but yeah, I mean, it's this just may be one of those games that puts you to sleep because of it's going to be defense. There's going to be some defense in this. There's going to be not a whole lot of offense. And it just may end up in being a smash mouth game. I'm only picking Washington because it's in Washington, and that's really it.
Yeah, I hear you. This one's kind of hard to pick, I think. Terry, what do you think on this game? Oh, look at there. He's pulling out the Fab 5 jersey.
We're good. We're Michigan.
Timeout.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I was just calling. I didn't have any timeouts. I was just calling one though.
This is my tractor trailer era jersey. So there you go.
Oh, that's trailer. Okay. All right.
Rest in peace, tractor trailer. Yeah, you never know what I'm going to pull out over here, Brad.
Yeah. He was a little bit after the Fab 5. Yeah.
Yes, he was more 97, 98. Because if you remember, he was drafted by Dallas and traded for Dirk Nowitzki. So if you remember that going back a little bit.
Okay.
Anyway, I think Michigan. Yeah. I think Michigan wins just because they play really good defense. I like their game plan against USC. At some point, they'll have to throw the ball, but I don't know if it'll be in Seattle. So I think Michigan wins this one.
So this one's, a game that I'm struggling with. I want to lean with the home team, kind of like John did, but man, I mean, they have kind of struggled. They've already got 2 losses. And Vegas has them with a 2-point advantage here, but I think I'm going to go with you, Terry. I think I'm going to take Michigan in this game, mainly because of their defense and Will Johnson and their running game. With right. Edwards. All right, so this is a game that I struggled with to put on here as well. Got UCF as a 2-point favorite in the swamp at Florida. Billy Ball. John, does Billy Ball survive this weekend?
Gus Malzahn as a road favorite in the swamp is never a good thing. So I'm going to begrudgingly go with Florida winning this one, and covering the. Well, I mean they're going to win straight up, so that gets that pick right there. But I just you're talking about hard to decipher. I mean, look, UCF can look great at times. They also can look really bad, but that's pretty indicative of Gus Malzahn's coaching. He's been he's had a lot of teams. His Auburn teams were they could have really, really impressive wins, but have some real head scratchers, like losing to a team that you should not lose to.
Right.
With the players that he had. So I kind of feel like this is one of those where you think that, at the beginning of the year when we're watching Florida start the year out, and then you're thinking, they may not win 2 games or 3 games or whatever. Yeah. I kind of just feel like that they can pull this one off. I don't think it's going to look pretty or anything. I don't think you're going to sit there and go, wow, Florida has figured it out. I still think that they're going to still have a ton of questions. I just think that they win it. And that's it.
Okay. That's fair. So John's picking Billy Ball to survive this weekend, it looks like. Terry, what do you think?
I need complete madness and disarray. I need UCF to win.
I mean, I would love UCF and just the madness, because that is Brad knows that's kind of who I am. But
yeah,
me picking
John likes chaos.
I love chaos, and UCF winning would be chaos, because then, I mean, it would be great. But I don't know if it's going to happen, because I've seen this movie too many times with Gus. So,
right. So
no, I get what you're saying. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna say UCF gonna win by a field goal.
All right. So with this game, I was all on board to take UCF, and then last week I felt like they laid an egg in Colorado. Like, not only did they lose that game, they wasn't even really in that game. I mean, Colorado handed them a butt whipping last week. What was it, 48-21 or something like that last week against Colorado? And I know Colorado's got a few really, really good players, but I thought UCF would go in there and at least look the part and look like they are maybe one of the better teams in the Big 12. Coming out of this game, I thought, well, they really don't look like they handled any business at all. So maybe they go into the swamp and Billy survives another week. So I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen, is that, no matter if Florida is playing great or has a great team, going into the swamp is tough. No matter what is going on down there. It's never an easy game. The crowd is crazy. Going into the swamp is always tough. And I'm going to give it to the swamp this week. I think that's what I'm going to give it to, and say that Florida gets a win there this week, which would be good for Billy Ball. All right, College Game Day is going to California for the very first time, John. Miami is a 10-point favorite against the California Bears. So, which is still, to me, one of the weirdest mascots in the history of college sports. The California Bears in L.A. No, they're not in L.A. But anyway, the California Bears.
Northern California.
I know, but it's still tough. I don't know. Something about the California Bears just seems like the weirdest mascot to me. It always has.
Well, they
got a bear on their state flag.
Design. Their costume design for that mascot, it's stupid. It's like the Clemson Tiger. It looks really dumb, but it's but it is on their state flag. So it's not something that's out there. It's not like a just crazy thing. But so obviously having Cal come across the country and beat Auburn in Auburn when we were hyping up the Jordan Hare's being, one of the hardest places to play. And then they went to Florida State and should have finished the job over there too. But they were unable to do it twice coming across the country.
They are 3-1, I think.
Right, which is the one loss is Florida State.
Right.
But this one's at home, and I don't know what kind of a home environment they can muster up. I feel like they could do it. I don't know if they will do it. But I'm gonna just say that Miami pulls this one off, and well, Now give me Cal to stay inside the number. Miami wins. Cal stays inside.
Okay. All right. So Terry, Cam Ward, of course, is in Miami this year and has looked like a Heisman favorite, I think. I mean, I don't know that he's the leader, but he's in that 3 or 4 person conversation. I believe Cam Ward is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Do you think, that Miami goes out to California and takes care of business this week, or does California surprise everybody?
I think the Hurricanes take care of business because, again, the thing is Cal Berkeley, is it going to be an intense football environment? Like you talked about the swamp being a thing. I don't know if Berkeley is that. Like they've had some pretty good players, Aaron Rodgers, Marshawn Lynch, who's going to be the guest picker on game day. But is it a tough place to play? I don't know. It's beautiful, but I don't know if it's necessarily tough.
Yes.
So I think Miami gets it done, even heading all the way out west.
Yeah, and Miami, they're not going to care if it's beautiful. They have, it's beautiful in Miami in places as well. So, I think that's not going to matter to them at all. And as far as being a tough environment, it's hard to say that I think it will be, to be honest. To be in a tough environment for Miami to go into. So I really like Cam Ward. I've been talking about him all year here on College Game Day, College SportsCast here. So, I just think that they're going to go out and take care of business and cover this 10 out in Berkeley. So that's what I think is going to happen. And then we are going to finish the show.
Just remember the Cal quarterback is from Miami. I think his name is Fernando. He is from Miami, and I think he might just show out against Miami. Like, hey guys.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to end the show with the Big 12 matchup. These are both one-loss teams. This is another game that I picked because there could be some implications here in the Big 12 with one-loss teams, 4-1 and a 3-1 team here. Got Texas Tech going to Arizona. Arizona is a 6.5-point favorite at home. And the winner here could have a leg up and at least still be in the conversation in the Big 12. So, John, what do you think here with the Red Raiders going out to Arizona?
The Big 12 has been just this crazy chaos league. You like chaos? Watch Big 12 football. You know why? Because you do not know what is going to happen. You think Arizona goes out and does what they did last week. Arizona could get their butt kicked by Texas Tech in this game. Do we know that for sure? No.
And Texas Tech has played, they've played up and down, but they've played good ball at times.
So is Arizona.
It's hard to tell.
Arizona's played up and down too. Everybody in the Big 12 has looked like world beaters and looked like teams that shouldn't be out there playing football at the same time. So, I mean, I honestly wanted to have my video's not working. I honestly wanted to have a coin and just be like, this is my Big 12 coin flip. This is how I'm going to decide who wins. And flip a coin. And can't do that. So, I mean, this is just, it doesn't matter what you know about either team. This one is just one of those where you do not know what's about to happen. So give me Texas Tech just for the fact that Arizona, went out and I think they beat Utah last week. So I'm going to go with them not doing well this week and that Texas Tech wins the game.
Fair enough. Terry, what do you think in this game?
Again, echoing the same thing, like Big 12 is you just don't know. Like that's the whole thing. I'm gonna go with Arizona because those Wildcats are at home, and that's the extent of my analysis on this one because it can go either way. Because the thing is, Monday, the thing is, if I told you Monday morning, or if you saw, I guess Sunday, hey, Texas Tech blew out Arizona, you'd be like, oh, okay. Or you could be like, Arizona blew out Texas Tech. Oh, okay. Or man, did you see that close game between Texas Tech and Arizona? Like all those options are on the table, and none of them would be a surprise on Sunday morning.
Right.
Absolutely.
I agree with you 100%. My only thing is I think Arizona has the better tandem. Fafita and McMillan are legit. Quarterback, wide receiver. Like I think they have the better tandem. This is at home. So I'm going to take Arizona in this game, although Texas Tech has played pretty well. And like I said, they are only one loss. I think they're the 4-1 team. One of these is 4-1, and one's 3-1. I can't remember which one is which. But I think Texas Tech is the 4-1 team, I believe, in this game. And Arizona has had a bye week already, so that's why they're 3-1. But Fafita to McMillan, I think, is going to come out on top in this game. And also, McMillan is a name that you should watch for a long shot in the Heisman race. I know that he's probably not going to be one of the four, but I think he should at least be mentioned and talked about. He is having a very great year out there, and you should check out his numbers and check out how he plays because those two are legit in college football this year. So I will end it with that. Terry, it's been fun. I'm glad you joined us here on College SportsCast, and I hope you had a good time picking games with us.
Yeah, I even brought some props,
man,
so I'm all in. My Lee Corso on.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. Tell Vinny that we said hi, College Sportscast. I know Vinny is your co-host with you on Cats Talk Wednesdays. So they have a pretty good show that you guys here at College Sportscast have probably heard of because there's a lot of Kentucky fans that follow us, just like they do for them as well. And you can see all the stuff and his props and his setup that he has behind him there. There's not much bigger fan than Terry Brown. So, yeah, man, I got you. But I will say he is a collector and he has all kinds of different stuff. So it's not all Kentucky stuff. I do know that.
Yeah, I got a little bit of everything, but it's not all Kentucky basketball. I got gymnastics. I've got tennis up here somewhere, softball, baseball. I'm all Cats everything.
Yep. And I'm covering volleyball and women's basketball this year, so doing a little bit of that. So I try to cover it all as well.
What did you
now?
Hey, Brad, what did you think of the Auburn Tigers?
Yeah. You talking about the volleyball Auburn Tigers?
Yes.
That's what you're bringing up, right?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. That's what I figured you was bringing up. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't talk about
well, what
right
I thought was, John, is that we come out with a 2-0 lead, 2-0 lead, and then just laid down and lost it. Three straight sets. That's what I thought, and I thought
I don't know.
Should have won that one. To be quite honest,
I don't know. Terry said that for every one of these losses here, there's you have the comeback, but you also have the self destruction, but you also have the comeback. You have the team that went out and got it too, and then they followed that up by beating Bama. 2 days later.
This is true. Yeah. So Auburn, I'm sure, has a good girls team because the Kentucky volleyball team is legit. Like they come in, beat Florida, beat Oklahoma since then. So they've been legit, but you got to give it tippy cap to Auburn. They did beat us. Like I said, we did jump out 2-0 and then lost three sets in a row to them. So, all right, guys, I am going to wrap this up tonight, and I appreciate you guys being on with us. Terry, come back and see us again sometime. And
absolutely,
we appreciate you being on with us. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Hope you had fun.
Absolutely. I'll do
All
it
right.
again.
You have a good night.
You too. Thanks, guys.
All right, man.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Terry. All right, John. So I am going to put up on the screen before we head out. I'm going to put up to follow us for College Sportscast on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, or on X. That is our Drink Local BHAM and Brad CS Cast. That is our handles. And also go to greenvillesportsmedia.com. And then lastly, I'll put up a little bit more on the Real Fresh channel and WSBN TV channel 30 through the Boxcast app. Look for World Sports Broadcasting Network, and then you can find College Sportscast on channel 30. All right, guys, I appreciate it. And we will see you on Tuesday night this week. There is no Kentucky game, so we will not be doing a post game. Kentucky has a bye week this week, so we will not be doing a post game. And on Sunday, I'm going to Lexington to cover the women's volleyball team. So I will see you guys on Tuesday night. John, thanks for stopping by and coming on with us. Maybe your camera will work out next time.
Yeah, I have no idea what was going on. I really don't know.
Yeah, I tried to get you to come on at first, but it kicked you off and it wouldn't let me pull you back up for a few minutes. So,
yeah.
All right, guys, y'all have a good night. We will see you on Tuesday night. This has been College Sportscast Game Day Pick'em, Week 6 for college football, Season 3.